Alright, hello everyone, I am Crota, and I will be looking into my constructed deck that I've been running on Hex during the ladder. Now, a lot of people, well, actually one guy specifically just said, you know what, I really want to see an in-depth guide on your deck. He was running, the same hero, but I ended up being able to beat him 2-0, and he wanted to know what makes the deck work. If you guys are familiar with the not the VIP tournament, the Eye of Lixil tournament that I ran earlier this week, it is a variation on that deck, changing the reserves just a little bit to try and match what I'm currently looking at now. Now, for those of you guys who are wondering, the deck, I just call it the Freak deck because it runs 4 Freaks of Nature. Now, let's go. I'm going to go ahead and move all of this here. I'm just going to put XXX here so that it doesn't get confusing up top. So the basic premise of the deck, first of all, your hero or your champion is going to be Kagulichu, who is a Shinhair, the Wild Blood. Put troops or put cards into your crypt and then grab one of them randomly from all of your cards in your crypt. Now, there is so much synergy that is happening in this deck that it kind of surprised me after I piecemealed everything together. I'm hoping to record a game and actually put up a ladder play a little bit later, but I am extremely nervous right now. I am essentially 3 stars away from Cosmic, and now I'm all getting jittery and nervous because I didn't realize that this deck could actually carry me all the way through. So let's go ahead and break down the deck. You can take a look at it. Wild Shards, Blood Shards, Shards of Ancient, Lily Pad. No real big shockers there. Now, I'm running 3 Extinctions, 4 Kills, 2 Arunas, 4 Vampire Kings, 2 Monsoons, 2 Scrolls of Yazukan, which is extremely important in the deck. I'll get more into it as I start explaining the deck a little bit better. There's also 2 Crocosaurs. An argument could be made for a third one. The Crocosaur is extremely good, but at the same time, there's so much spell shield going around that sometimes a Crocosaur doesn't really hit. It's really difficult. There's 3 Lullabies, 2 Artisanal Cheesesmiths, 4 Cottontail Explorers, 4 Rune Ear Heiferfonts, and then 4 Freak of Natures. Now, how does the deck work? The deck works by getting cards into your crypt. Scroll of Yazukan says, when a troop enters a crypt, if Scroll of Yazukan is in play or in your hand, add a counter to Scroll of Yazukan. Now, a key importance here is when a troop enters a crypt, not when a troop dies. So the hero power triggers it. Cottontail Explorer triggers it. And in the mirror match, the Scroll of Yazukan, if you have it in your hand or in play, all of a sudden gets charges like you wouldn't believe because your opponent is playing Cottontail Explorer. You're sitting in the Scroll of Yazukan in your hand, and he goes, yay, I got a resource. And you're laughing to yourself, wow, I got 2 charges on my scroll. And that makes you always up whenever you have to extinction or whenever your opponent extinctions as well. So Scroll of Yazukan is just basically anti-extinction tech. The reason why extinction is so popular right now is because of this Rune Ear Heiferfont. Rune Ear Heiferfont, everyone's been saying it is OP. It is very, very difficult to deal with. You need to run extinctions, mass polymorph, heat wave if you can get early on. You need ways to deal with the Rune Ear Heiferfont. If you don't have a way to easily deal with it, then it can really get out of hand since you cannot target it to kill it. Now, unfortunately, in my version of the deck, there is no way of easily attacking and making sure that there's no blockers. I can't give it flight or do anything to give it any sort of evasion. But because you enjoy Freak of Nature so much, you can get those troops back. Also, the Artisanal Cheesesmiths using barrels to grab back those units, very, very powerful. Also, Aruna's doing the same exact thing as well. You can play it, you can grab it from your opponent. I know you can't use it in yours, but still a very, very powerful card combination. Freak of Nature is one of those cards where you almost have to constantly check your crypt to see if it's there. When your Freak of Nature, it's constantly growing if it's sitting there, and then you kind of have to time when you are able to play it. Now, against the Yule Tool matchup, be very careful that you believe your opponent does not have lethal on you. If your opponent has lethal on you, paying or borderline lethal, paying the 4 health is extremely, extremely difficult. But what is good about Freak of Nature is at the end of the turn, it gives -1/-1. What does that really mean? It means that that -1/-1 can easily take out a lot of the Utul's 1 defense troops, the Arena Regular, the Ghostblade Duelist, the 1/1 that exhausts to deal 1 or 2 damage if you have activated the champion power. So that does a lot there. On top of that, the Freak of Nature is extremely strong because your opponent may often forget about it. If you purposely swing a 4/4 into say 2 Runear Ephraphons, one's a 3/2 and one's a 3/3, one's a 2/2, right? Your opponent may think to himself, okay, yeah, I'm gonna trade 1 Runear Ephraphon for 1 Runear Ephraphon, and I'm gonna be able to keep one of mine alive. When your Runear Ephraphon dies, you can then use Freak of Nature to put it into play during your second main phase. And then when you end your turn, opposing troop is going to get -1/-1. If you can guarantee, or you know your opponent only has 1 more troop on the board, and it's that Runear Ephraphon, you deal 1 more point of damage. Or you give it -1/-1, automatically killing it. And that's important because you can purposely feign being exhausted, running out of resources, and then attacking, hoping that you can get yourself into a favorable trade because you're able to play a Freak of Nature from your Crypt while you are out of resources. So a really, really strong play there. A lot of the times, you do not check your opponent's Crypt. So that's how a lot of this deck works here. Monsoon gives you a way to recover from extinction, your own or your opponent's as well. And in Yotul, I love actually playing it straight up. A 3-drop 3/3 with Rage 2, it immediately puts the clock on your opponent because they know that if they don't deal with it, then they are going to end up falling behind. So they need to deal with a 3-drop. Crackling Bolt, if it absorbs a Crackling Bolt, if it absorbs something, it can easily absorb 4 to 5 damage just because of the way Yotul works in damage. So very, very strong there. Taking a look at the reserves are something that I'm constantly trying to juggle while I play on the ladder. Curse of Oblivion, Extinction, Succulent Cluckedon, there's 3 of them there. 3 Carnosaurs, 2 Vampire Princess, 1 Lullaby, and 3 Chomplosaurs. Chomplosaurs are therefore closed coffins, or anything else that is heavily reliant on constants and artifacts. I've seen a number of chant decks. I've seen closed coffins used against me. I've seen playing with fire decks where the person just has 3 playing with fires, and it's just like, hey, I'm going to burn to the ground for 5 or for 4 and then deal 6 damage to you, and it grows really, really uncontrollably. Now, in terms of the whole entire sideboard process, between Succulent Cluckedons, Carnosaurus, and Vampire Princess, and your Vampire Kings in your main deck, you have enough life gain to really come out ahead. Chomplosaur is also very good at taking out those Ebony Pawns that your opponent may be dropping. Always very, very helpful. Anytime you're able to trade something, gain a little bit of life, and put a body on the board. That's really what you're trying to do. The Lullabies and the Extinctions are there in the other variations of the Runear Ephraphon deck. You know that your opponent is going to be running at you with a Runear Ephraphon. You want to be able to either Extinction it, board wipe, or Lullaby, and shrink that Runear Ephraphon into a 2/2. And since you have such large bodies on your side of the deck, it makes it extremely difficult for your opponent to try to freely swing in again. They can try to give it flight again, all of those things, but if they use the Kyoto that gives flight for 4 charges, Lullaby removes the flight, and then they have to save up another 4 charges, which they may or may not be able to do easily. That's basically the deck. I am one win away from, or 1-2-0 win away from getting into Cosmic. I'm hoping for the best, and then I'm also hoping to get into a Cosmic in Limited as well. But Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you guys have questions, definitely let me know. I'm gonna be recording my gameplays in ladder now that I know I'm 1 win away from Cosmic, but I am scared out of my mind. The Asian part of me, or the Asian cultural part of me, is like, do I risk losing? Do I risk losing? I hate losing. And giving it a little bit of psychobabble into my psyche or my inner id or ego, or I don't know. It's been a long time since I've took psychology. Anyways, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions, leave them below. The ladder freak deck, I've had a couple of favorable matchups so far. I think I've only lost one best out of 3 since getting into platinum with this deck after making the adjustments that I make. And you know, if you notice that if your opponents are drawing a little bit more, Drowned Shrine might be better. If your opponents are playing more Fog, Curse of Oblivion may need to be added in there as well. Anyways, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed it.